Hello everyone, happy Thursday. Moving into lesson 9.5. I'll give you a heads up. Today's lesson you will need to use a calculator. Well, you don't need to, but you probably will want to. So, it is my understanding that all of your, and I think I mentioned this last week, but that all of your student Chromebooks now have a calculator extension on them, or a calculator app. So hopefully you're able to find that. If it's not, I would look on your desktop first, which means just close or minimize all your windows, and just on your kind of your home screen of your computer. Maybe everyone knows what a desktop is, but in case anyone's not computerly inclined, go to your home screen, see if there's just like a button there for it or an icon there. Otherwise, if you can't find it, do a little search. I'm not super familiar with the Chromebooks, but probably on the bottom left side of your screen, there's an area where you can type in something for the search. So try typing in calculator. It's just going to work a lot better today if you have that available to you. But in any case, here's your bell ringer. Looks like the stuff we've been working on the past couple of days on Monday and Tuesday, so give it a quick try. All right, answer to this one should have been left 2 and down 4. All right. So what we're talking about today is called the quadratic formula. It's basically another method to solve quadratic equations. I say another method because we talked so much about factoring in the chapter we were working on before this whole virus and break from school came about. But yeah, that's basically what's going on. And the quadratic formula is right. Whoops, I'm not using the right button again. The quadratic formula is right here. Looks super complicated, but it's not that bad. You'll see. Reminder that I uploaded a cheat sheet for chapter 9. So this will be on the cheat sheet. You might just want to have that available so you can kind of keep pulling it up or whatever. So basically, all we got to do is we're going to take our equation that we're given. Oops, I made the same mistake. We're going to take the equation that we're given, and the numbers that we see there, so the coefficients a and b, and then the constant number c, we're going to substitute those into our quadratic formula and solve. So let's look at an example. You can kind of see how this works. All right. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make it look like the equation we saw on the last slide, which means we need to move everything over to the left side. So in order for me to do that, I'm going to have to subtract 35. That's going to be my first step, because that's how I'm going to move 35 to the left side. And then that's going to say x squared minus 2x minus 35 equals 0. We got everything over there now. Now, I always recommend before you start substituting anything into your quadratic formula, off to the side, just do A, B, whoops, that was weird, B, C. We're going to write our A, B, and C numbers there just so we can kind of pay attention, make sure we got them right, and then we'll be able to reference them when we need to. So A is the number, the coefficient out front of our x squared term. So usually we'd see it right there, but since we don't see a number, that means that must just be a 1. B is the next number, the coefficient of our x term, so that's -2. And C is the third number, our constant term, so -35. All right, now, the quadratic formula, I'll just write it on here again. It's x equals -b plus or minus, I'll talk about that, b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, right? That's from the last slide. So now all we got to do is substitute, okay? And as a matter of fact, I think I'll make some more room for myself on here. Okay, but that's the work I'd probably show on these, and I'll talk about what I expect in terms of work on these as well. So if I substitute in, it's going to look like x equals negative, it's negative b, so that's negative 2, because b is negative 2. So if it's negative b, it's negative 2, right? I know the signs are a little bit weird there, but make sure you get those right. Plus or minus, and again, I'll talk about what that means. Big square root b squared. As a matter of fact, I'll even just erase these so that I don't run out of space. B squared minus 4. A was 1. C was negative 35. That square root needs to go over all that stuff. Okay, don't stop it after the negative 2 squared or anything. It has to go over that whole thing. All of that over 2a, which is 2 times 1. So that looks like a lot, but all we did was we took a, b, and c, and we substituted those 3 numbers into the proper spots in the quadratic formula. This is where the calculator could come in handy, okay? It's not entirely necessary. I could work through this problem without a calculator, and it would not be all that bad, assuming that my answers were real numbers, which in Algebra 2, you'll see some that are not real numbers, but let me use the calculator here so I can show you how you can do that. In terms of the work that I expect to see when on the assignments that you're submitting, I want to at least see that you're writing A, B, and C. You're saying A is this, B is this, C is this, and you're substituting them into the equation like I just did here. Okay? That is the least amount of work that I need to see. Now, let me bring that back up real quick. This is going to be a little bit hard, but hang on. Okay, just wanted to write that down somewhere before I lose it. Okay, so if I jump over to the calculator, this is how I can type it in. Now you got to be careful. It's a big fraction, so we're going to do, whoops, I hit the wrong thing already. We're going to do, let me clear that so I don't lead you astray. We're going to do alpha y equals, because that takes us to a big function. And I'm just going to type in what we had there. So I had negative, parentheses, negative 2, right? I'm typing it in just like I had it. Now the next thing we had was plus or minus, right? It was a little plus over a little minus. First, we're just going to do plus, okay? The plus or minus means we're going to have 2 answers. One if that's a plus right there, and one if it's a minus. So let's start with the plus. Then we have our square root, so that's second, and then the x squared button. And then I had parentheses, negative 2 in parentheses, squared, so I can just hit the squared button, or you could hit your caret up and then the 2. Okay, it's up to you. Minus 4, parentheses 1, parentheses, negative 35, parentheses, and then I'm going to click the down button to get down to the denominator. 2, parentheses, 1, parentheses. So again, if I lost you anywhere there, go back, right? Rewind the video, and you can also look at the bottom of the screen at this key press history. Okay, that shows you the buttons that I've been clicking to type all this stuff in properly. If you type it all in properly, you're going to hit enter, and it's going to give you a number, okay? Unless there's no solution, and that might happen from time to time, okay? So in this case, the first number I get is 7. So that means 7 is one of my answers. It's the answer that I get when I put a plus in that spot that I was just talking about. So there's one of my answers. The calculator did a lot of good work for me there. I didn't have to go through and figure a bunch of stuff out here. And now, for me to change that sign to a minus, the easiest thing is for me to click the up arrow until I have this whole big quadratic formula highlighted. Because then if I hit enter after I have it highlighted, it brings all that down and I can edit it again. So I can move, I can go left and then up, and I can just slide over however far I have to go to get over to that sign. So I'm trying to get to that plus sign. There it is. And I don't want it to be a plus this time. I want it to be a minus. So the first time was a plus, second time was a minus, and I'm going to hit enter, and it says -5. So for the record, if I go back to our notes, there you go. The solutions are -5 and 7. Okay. I do want to point something out here, because usually when I'm teaching this, we're obviously in the classroom and I can help you guys out when you're having little mistakes. So let me try to point out the common mistakes. Common mistake number 1, the most common. These negatives and minus signs look similar. That right there that I have highlighted is a minus, right? That's -4 times 1 times -35. This sign is a negative. If I change this to a minus, because this is what we see from students, if I accidentally put a minus there and hit enter, error, syntax, it doesn't know what the heck you're trying to do. So if you get this coming up, error, syntax, that means you put a negative where there should have been a minus, or you put a minus where there should have been a negative. So that should be the first thing you check. The other common issue that I see students, or mistake that I see students making is this big square root, like I mentioned earlier, does not go over the whole thing. If you notice mine, it goes all the way from the beginning of that -2 in parentheses squared all the way to the end of -35. It does not stop somewhere in the middle. Okay, so those are your most common mistakes. Be careful when typing these into the calculator. Follow the steps I just went through. And that'll help you out. So jumping back to the notes, let me look at another one. All right. This video is getting pretty long, but I'm just trying to explain everything for you here. So this one's it already has everything on the left side, so we don't have any work to do there. So that's good. So I'm going to write A, B, C. Again, A is just 1 because I don't have a number there. That's basically a 1. B is also going to be 1 because that's basically a +1 or a +1. And C is -30. Right? So I'm looking at x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And I'm going to substitute. I'm going to have -1. Now notice I use parentheses every time I substitute, just to be safe. So -1 plus or minus square root of 1 squared minus 4 times 1 times -30. And again, I'm going to make sure that square root goes all the way to the end there. So I'm just substituting a, b, and c where they belong. And then it's all over 2 times a, which again is just 1. So there's what I have now. So again, I think this time I'm just going to take a quick picture with my phone instead of writing this out. I think that'll be quicker. All right, yeah. So if I go back to the calculator, okay, I'm just gonna clear all that out. So we're starting fresh. I'm gonna clear my key history, and we'll start over. So I'm going to do alpha, y equals, enter, to get my function set up, or my fraction set up rather. Negative, remember your negative is down there. It's in red now because I just pressed it. Not the minus over on the right side. Be careful. Parentheses, 1, parentheses. Just like last time, we're going to do plus first, and then we'll do minus the second time. The order of those obviously does not matter, but I just start with plus for the heck of it. Second, x squared, to get my square root. I have parentheses, 1, parentheses. Maybe this time I'll do caret up 2, because I think most of you guys do that. And in that case, I got to hit the right arrow. That's another common mistake, actually. If you do the caret up instead, be careful. That squared is up there now. If I start typing the rest, minus 4, notice how it's all up there. That's not where it belongs. So I need to undo that. So I can do that by hitting delete, delete. I'm going to get back down here where I belong. Minus 4, parentheses, 1, parentheses, and parentheses, negative 30. Parentheses. And you notice if you do it carefully like this, that square root up top keeps moving the more that I type. If you click the right arrow too many times or a couple times, then you're going to lose that square root. So try to be careful with that. And we hit down to get into the denominator, and then all I had down there was 2, parentheses, 1, parentheses. So again, I'm going to hit enter. That time I get 5. And I'm just going to go back up and grab all that and then move over. I'm going to move over to that plus sign. Probably clicked it too many times. Yeah. There we go. And I'm going to change it to a minus. Enter. And I get negative 6. So those are my two answers. And again, that would be the work I would expect to see, not what's here right now, obviously, because it got erased, but I can actually bring it back up. This would be the work, and then here I could actually just write again. I could say x equals 5, x equals negative 6. That would be pretty much the exact work I'd hope to see here. You don't have to write the quadratic formula every time, but I would do it at least in the beginning because it's going to help you to memorize it or get more familiar with it. All right, and this is, there it goes. Okay, it took a second. Negative 6, 5, or 5, negative 6, order does not matter. Also, they're using braces and stuff. You don't have to do that. All right, I will show you the first part here, which would just be to say that A is 2, B is negative 2, and C is negative 5. If you want extra practice, okay, if you want to try this on your own before you get to the huddle, pause the video, give this a try. I'm not going to keep typing these into the calculator because this video is already almost 20 minutes. So just to move on, the answer to this one would be 2.2 and negative 1.2. Keep in mind you will get some decimals on these. Okay, that's why I had this example in there. That's fine. Your calculator would just, when you hit enter, it would say 2.2 and negative 1.2. It doesn't mean you're wrong. This is why quadratic formula is good. Okay, factoring, if we tried to solve these by using factoring, we probably wouldn't be getting answers that look like this. Okay, this one, first step, again, I got to move everything to the right side, or the left side. I mean, the right side is in the correct side. So I'd first have to subtract 4. So that would say 5x squared minus 8x minus 4 equals 0. That makes A 5, B negative 8, and C negative 4. So again, if you want to pause and give that a try, go for it. Answers are 2 and negative 0.4. And that's all I have for you today. We're going to do a little bit more tomorrow. You're going to get more practice on this, but for now, there's your homework assignment. But again, you're not quite ready for that. Let me bring up the 9-5 huddle. Okay. What I have on here for you are these 4 problems. Give those a try. And I will read you the answers as soon as I find them. Okay. Number 1, no solution. Okay. So some of these, like I mentioned earlier, will be no solution. Right? If you make sure that you typed in everything correctly and it's still not working, okay, what's going to happen when it's no solution is you're going to type it all in, and instead of it saying error syntax, it's going to say error non-real answer, meaning your answer is not a real number. So just so you know what to look for if it's no solution. So number 1's no solution. Number 2 is x equals negative 5.4 and x equals negative 0.6. Number 3 is x equals negative 3.5 and x equals 1. And number 4 is x equals 1/2 or 0.5 and x equals 1. All right. Hopefully those are going well for you. If you need help, as always, get in touch with me. When you are ready, all you got to do are numbers 1 and 2 on the mastery. So you can see them there. And then again, the homework assignment's right there. So get in touch with me if you need help. Do these for practice. And then tomorrow we'll just have a little bit more. Tomorrow's lesson will be easier and more straightforward and shorter. I promise you that. So see you then.